So I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight the work that the GSMA is doing in India on EMF issues. So about a year back, we approached the Institute of Technology Delhi to do a consumer awareness study on radio signals. So we approached them, and IIT Delhi then told us that they are ready to do this research independent of kind of any interference or inputs from us. So we went to them, and they've taken 1 year to come out with this consumer awareness research. I have with me Dr. Jack Rowley, who's the expert on EMF from GSMA, and he's been working in this field for 20 years now. And he will give you more insights on what this study, a unique study which has been commissioned by IIT Delhi, has to offer for us. Jack?
Thank you, Sandeep. So the report has been published just this week at IIT Delhi. What it sought to do was to understand why has the EMF topic, or electromagnetic field topic, emerged so strongly in India. So what they found was that there is strong information on the technology, but there are poor quality information in relation to electromagnetic field concerns. And so government policy has been based on those concerns rather than scientific evidence. And we think that this study provides a unique opportunity, both in India but also globally, to focus communication going forward. It identifies that there is a desire and a vacuum in terms of reliable information in India. We want to see the Indian government, and particularly the Department of Health, more active in communicating responsible information based on WHO, World Health Organization recommendations, so that consumers can make informed choices. And industry is also going to be part of that communication initiative, but it needs the support of the government to be credible and believed by the public. So as Sandeep explained, this study was done independently. The IIT Delhi commissioned a workshop involving experts on electromagnetic fields, both Indian and international experts. It conducted a focus group and interviews and surveys with a variety of Indian stakeholders and the general public to understand what was important to them around electromagnetic fields, where do they rely on for information. And in terms of information sources, their two most important sources are the media and their friends' word of mouth. So it's important that reliable information is being put into the media domain so that that ultimately comes to the end consumer, and then they can make those informed choices. India at the moment has standards that are among the most restrictive in the world, significantly more restrictive than the World Health Organization recommends for this topic. And going forward, we'd like to see that studies such as this and the global body of evidence is used to update the standards that apply in India so that people are protected, but also the deployment of both the antenna sites and the use of the devices can be done with confidence by the public.
What are the key highlights of the study?
So what they find is that there's an information vacuum. That at the moment, the media is reporting controversies, is reporting uncritically claims made by independent activist groups, but not the information that should be coming from the World Health Organization, from other public health agencies. And critically within India, the Ministry of Health has been largely silent on this topic. And as the responsible health authority, it should be providing guidance to the government, but also to the consumers.
You're pretty familiar with the European market. Can you share some of the observations in the European governments on the similar issue?
So that's a good point. Where we see that there is little concern in Europe, then there has been a consequence of an integrated campaign of communication that involves, first off, a coordinated and harmonized view across all the major government departments, whether it's telecommunications, health, environment, and so forth. Then information made available to the public through websites, through information available in points of sale, through consultation, communication techniques and approaches by the industry. Countries in Europe that have had more concern and continue to have concern is where there is mixed messages from the government and other agencies, or there is an absence of information from the government, because then that absence of information is filled by irresponsible claims.
Yeah, so first of all, we want to take this opportunity to congratulate Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad for having taken over as the Telecom Minister of India. And we also welcome his thoughts on how he wants the industry to progress in the coming next few years. We welcome his initiative that he wants transparency to be set in, and also his focus on the broadband highway, which he is already talking about. So we have a few recommendations for the government to look into, and the first one, of course, is to define a clear roadmap of spectrum releases to mobile in the coming years. They've already talked about that, and we've heard in the newspapers as well, from the news report. So we also request him to also include the 2100 megahertz spectrum band in his recommendation for the roadmap. So that's the first point that we want to highlight with the minister. Also, in that roadmap, we would suggest that if he is able to tell us exactly when the 700 megahertz spectrum auctions will take place, so that the ecosystem, India is the second largest country in terms of connections in the globe, and we want that the ecosystem gets ready whenever the 700 megahertz auctions datelines are clear. So that is how we would want him to support us on that dateline. The second point which we want to make, of course, is the recognition of telecom as infrastructure sector and address right-of-way issues. We appreciate, the GSMA appreciates the government's effort to accord telecom as an infrastructure sector to realize the true potential of ICT. But we also want a couple of things which can come out of it, is like the treatment of enforceable uniform tower guidelines throughout the country, and provision of essential utility like grid power, and also availability of electricity at priority and at commercial rates. So this will, and also to simplify right-of-way issues which the operators and the vendors face in laying the fabric. As has been mentioned by Dr. Jack Rowley, we also want to undertake periodic review of EMF's stringent standards that have been enforced in India, and to get aware of what it is. The first time the study has come out on consumer awareness, we approached IIT Delhi a year back, and we asked them to do an independent research on what does the consumer feel and what does he look at as far as EMF radiations are concerned. So the IT study has concluded yesterday, and they have given us a framework on what it should look like, and we look forward to operationalizing that framework in the coming time. The last ask, of course, is to rationalize taxes, duties, levies which are affecting the sector to facilitate a more rapid development of networks and services. So these are the few things that we would request the government.
Have you given any recommendation to to solve the right of way?
So we are looking at various issues. We haven't given any recommendations, but we are just requesting the ministry to have a dialogue with the industry to resolve these issues and whatever.
So what is the best solution to? Because it's actually a burning issue. It has been on for almost a decade now.
Yeah, so we want to come onto the table and have a clearance, because what happens is these vendors have to really go around and take too many clearances from too many places. So if there is a single window clearance for these vendors to lay out, and if they get clearance there, it will be saving a lot of money and time.
You want to sum up with something?
I just want to add to what Sandeep said about right of way, that in Europe, the European Commission has just, in the last couple of months, issued a regulation in regard to enabling and accelerating broadband rollout. And that includes improvements to right of way, decisions that have to be made within short periods of time, one-stop shop approaches to the decision-making process, as Sandeep mentioned. Standardized and harmonized approaches mean less cost and quicker rollout, and that's ultimately to the benefit of the consumer.
Do you feel Indian government is slow to respond to industry issues, especially some of the critical issues?
No, I mean they're not slow, but they of course they deliberate, and we were happy with the speed of decision making. And what is another happy note that we have here is that we've heard that the EGOMs and EGOMs and GOMs will now be abolished. So the decision making as it is going to become faster. So we are happy with this approach.
Would you like to sum up?
So The key point from the IIT Delhi study is that there's been an information vacuum. Reliable sources from credible agencies on health concerns, that information has been absent from the media and ultimately for consumers. And so this study provides a guidance on the importance of providing that information and the channels through which it can be communicated effectively.